Hello, and welcome to the Monster Painter. This week, well, I just got back from Breakout Con, and I got myself a box of fabulous treasure. Oh yeah, treasure. And make sure to watch to the end of the video for your chance to win some awesome Monster Painter swag. What could be more fun than that? So, TapsCon is a beautiful small board game convention held here in Toronto once every 3 months. This Saturday, I won the A door prize at TapsCon, but nobody cares about some very grognardy pirate game that I won, especially when I managed to purchase a huge lot of old grognardy tabletop miniatures. At every TapsCon, not only are there door prizes and the playing of board games, there's also a math trade and a bring and buy. At the bring and buy, the people who attend the convention can bring games and they are organized for sale. Because TapsCon is a board gaming convention, the stuff at the bring and buy, unsurprisingly and consistently, is board games. However, once in a while, a treasure like this will turn up. Purchased for the princely sum of 70 Canadian dollars, it looks like I have got on my hands a big collection of old-timey miniatures with vintage paint jobs. I am super excited and I can't wait to start cracking these things open. Off the top, we have 6 gnomes and 2 dwarves. I hope I can tell them apart, and I hope I can get this open. Why do I constantly struggle to open things on screen? And inside there are 5 really nicely painted, I'm going to guess, gnomes, all Ral Partha, all 1990s. As well, we get this mighty dwarf, another Ral Partha, this one from 1982. And we also get a very fine looking gnome wizard. Again, Ral Partha, 1984. And finally, the lads are joined by this Grenadier Dwarf from 1987. Next up, it's 5 monsters. Well, you know the Monster Painter is going to love that. So not as well painted, but that's okay. Not everyone is a Monster Painter. These first 2 skeletons are Ral Partha from 1977. This orange ghoul with the bone is RAFM, a Canadian company from the 90s. No markings on this chap, but I had a copy in my childhood, and this is kind of sweet. And this Witch King has no markings. I'm pretty sure he is a Ral Partha. He is immediately getting hired on to work with a couple of old colleagues from a different line to be the advisory council in our current campaign of Maze of Malachor that we're playing down at the Sword and Board. Onward to the next pack, and it's a bunch of Goblins. 11 of the wretches. They're probably a lot like Goblins. They appear to have tails, and they are 1989 TSR Ral Partha. Given the conventional orc and goblin scale, methinks the Goblins might be kobolds. We also get 3 snotling-sized goblins by Ral Partha from way back in 1978, as well as this horned fellow with no markings on the base, and he has a tail. Here we go, on to the next one. 6 command orcs. Could they be an orc command unit? Let's see. And we get an orc warrior, an orc standard bearer, an orc drummer, another orc warrior, and an orc horn player, all Ral Partha from 1979. But the 6th orc bears strange markings. Maybe Asgard? I really don't know. So why not more orcs? 7 more orcs, in fact. I do love orcs. I'm unable to make out the markings on the bases of 5 of our orcs, and to be truthful, they are solidly goblin in scale. The other 2 orcs are a little unusual. The first one has a tail and is probably another kobold poser. More amusingly, though, The final orc in our set is anatomically correct, and you do not see that very often at all. Okay, on to something more serious. Soldiers. 8 of them. Nothing more serious than soldiers. The first 5 have no markings on their bases, and scale-wise they're a little small. That being said, they would make a very convincing first line for a unit of pikemen. We also get a couple of chaps who look more like woodsmen than soldiers. Again, nothing on their bases. The last soldier in this set has a good scale, a torch, and a top hat. He is a TSR Ral Partha from 1991, and I can't wait to hire him on as a thug for one of my Frostgrave warbands. Next up we have 6 mounted troops and only 4 horses. Looks like this is going to be some kind of game of equestrian musical chairs. Here we have the horsemen, well armed and ready to ride. And here are the horses going at a gallop. Nothing on their bases, but we can put something on their backs. And voila! We have ourselves a unit of cavalry auxiliaries. And now back to orcs. This time we get 12 orcs. You can never have enough orcs. The first orcs aren't tremendously orky looking, and I don't recognize the markings on the base. If you know, please leave a comment below. The next 5 orcs and all the minis in this collection have super hard enamel paint jobs, and it's a good thing because these tiny bases have no markings and are super tippy. Next up we get a couple of classic 1979 Ral Partha orcs. Sadly, I can't make out what is on our last orc's base. On to 6 wizards. My favorite game is Frostgrave, so I can always use another fun old wizard. The first 2 outlandish characters don't have any distinguishing markings on their base, but they're super fun. The blue-robed fellow is a Ral Partha from 1978, and his buddy is from all the way back in 1976, and it is the oldest one in this entire collection. Of the 2 lady wizards in this set, we have one from Grenadier from 1989, and the other is a Ral Partha proudly designed by the legendary Judy Guthrie, also from 1989, and they would make a great wizard and apprentice in Frostgrave. Next up, we get a couple of paladins, a wizard, and 4 soldiers who are missing 2 of their spears. Not so bad. 3 of those soldiers and the 2 paladins are all Ral Partha models, ranging in date from 1977 all the way to 1990. Fine looking soldiers, each one of them. Our wizard is a serious looking fellow by RAFM from 1989. He has a great paint job. I mean, just look at that book. So cool. The last soldier is a historically plausible Iron Age warrior who is anatomically correct and only missing one of his spears. Now that is one spicy Ral Partha model. On to something much less naked. We get 6 foot knights. And all of these foot knights are very credible medieval soldiers. Only one of them, the last one, has any markings on their base, and he is from Ral Partha 1979. Here we get 5 more foot knights, a ranger, a barbarian, and a fencer. Let's see what they look like. 3 of the foot knights have no markings, but are very credible medieval soldiers for sure. The other 5 models are all Ral Partha from various dates, but more excitingly, the barbarian and the ranger are in a more modern scale, and so are going to be more useful to me. Holy, older than old school plastic Marx toys possibly from the 1960s. I don't care if they're damaged. I'm quite curious. So we get a couple of horsemen without any horses. I will have to see what I can do about getting them a new ride. So Marx Toys produced a lot of toy soldiers over a very long period of time. I don't really know if these fine fellows are really from the 1960s, I do know that unlike a lot of toy soldiers, these 4 warriors are in scale for 28mm gaming, which makes them super, super fun. Onward, ever onward, and in the next pack we get 8 guards. How handy. 6 of those guards are very convincing medieval town guard types. There are no markings on their bases, and I'm not crazy about some of those bronze pole axes, but they're very well suited to their role. The other 2 demonstrate a quirky of some old-timey miniatures. The weapons were sometimes a separate part you had to glue in, a strange aspect present in some Ral Partha models from way, way back. Now for the penultimate set of miniatures in this vast collection. And we get foot knights. 8 of them. And here they are. They're all convincing medieval soldiers. There's nothing on their bases to indicate who made them, but they're all credible enough for a game of Saga, and yet fun enough to be hired into a Frostgrave warband. And here at long last we come to the final set in this epic vintage miniature journey. And we get 3 wizards and an elf. How fun is that? Here they are, and our old monk here is posing as a wizard. He is a Ral Partha without a date. The other 2 wizards and the elf are Ral Partha from the Judy Guthrie signature line, and as well as being beautifully sculpted, they are also in a good scale and will be very useful leading warbands in future games of Frostgrave. Except for the elf. He won't lead, he'll just be hired on as an archer. As for the elf's alternative self, who is missing his horse, I might have a new ride for Blondie, but it's going to take some time and some effort to get it ready for the table. And all that leaves me with an immense collection of vintage miniatures from the mid-70s to the early 90s, mostly Ral Partha, all in good condition with decent vintage enamel paint jobs, as good as any current pre-paint anyway. I will need to give them bases because models from this period are pretty tippy. I might touch up a couple, but for the most part, I love them as they are. 110 miniatures for 70 Canadian dollars. It is one sweet deal. And naturally enough, their first job will be to form up a Frostgrave warband. So here we go with a sigillist wizard and his daughter apprentice. For specialists, we have an elven archer, a cocky barbarian, a classic knight, and a showy treasure hunter. For standard soldiers, there is an infantryman and a man-at-arms, as well as a thug with a torch and a sneaky little dwarf thief. A solid warband by any measure. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. You must really like vintage miniatures or monster painter swag. Probably you like both. Well, if you want to win this fabulous Monster Painter t-shirt, all you have to do is leave a comment in the comment section below, and then in a couple of weeks, I'm going to put all the names of the commenters in the hat and draw a winner, and it could be you. Now, if you are afraid or concerned that your body type does not conform to a men's large t-shirt, I will send you this beautiful Math Rock dice bag instead. That way, everyone can be a winner. And so get commenting. Now on to the fight. This week it's the Town's Guard versus an endless goblin horde. The stakes are high. Who will win? Look at that. After a pitched battle we have our winners. The Town Guard is victorious. The village is saved. And order is restored. Good work, Town Guard. Next week on the Monster Painter, I take on the Bones 5 Grey Mountain. For real this time. I know I've said it before, but this time for sure. Honest, for sure. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. Ring the bell!